everyone, welcome back. If this is your first time to Restoring the Mosaic, then I encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Today I have a special treat for you. We've been working on this interview for a little while. So this is an interview with my friend Bob, and he's being interviewed by Michel Lizotte. I hope you enjoy One Man's Journey Out.
Bob, thank you for taking the time to answer our question, accepting to share your story. First of all, I would like to know a little about your youth. Where were you born?
I was born about 100 miles outside of Toronto.
Big family, small family?
6 kids. I was the youngest.
What do you remember from your youth?
My youth was a little bit troublesome because I grew up without a father, an absentee father. He was alive, but he was out doing his own thing. And I was really an unwanted child. My mother didn't want to bring another one of his kids into the world. We worked to support ourselves. I had a paper route at the age of 9 and a second paper route at the age of 10 to support myself, put clothes on my back, because my dad was spending his time and money and effort outside the family. So it was hard for my mom. And, every boy needs to have masculine identity. He needs to connect with a father or with a male figure in his life. And so it was hard for me to get in connected with other things. And then at the age of 13, my sister's boyfriend asked if he could stay over a night, and he sexually abused me. And that was a very traumatic experience for me. And I didn't know how to identify with that. And I didn't know who to talk to about it. So I didn't. I contained that and tried to deal with it. Had wrong kinds of impressions with it. I misinterpreted it. And all those things were real. To this day, I know that had a major, major effect on my future involvement in the gay life.
Were you also attracted to women at this time of your life?
As a matter of fact, I was. I dated girls a lot. I had a number of girlfriends. Eventually, I met my wife. I was assistant vice president of operations for a large food chain. And so I traveled a lot. And in my travel, I was away from home. It robbed me of my time in my relationship with my wife and with God. And so I was careless. And when I picked up this hitchhiker, he was very free, and he saw that I was maybe a bit receptive to what he had to say. I didn't tell him anything about my background, but I think he felt that I was very vulnerable. And so I fell that night. And it brought back memories like you wouldn't believe. And he told me about the activity downtown Toronto. He told me about places that I should go and have a look at and pursue and so on. So I chose to do that the following week.
Looking back to that day where you met this hitchhiker, what happened? What made that possible to happen, that you had such a return to that the desire of living this experience?
It was a desire to know more about it. I didn't have it fully defined in my life from a teenager. I don't think I even really knew fully what it meant to be homosexual.
Do that made you feel made you feel that you were finally getting what you were looking at?
Because of where I was at in my relationship with God, and in my being away from my wife and so on, I think that I wanted to see what that was about. I wanted to pursue it. I wanted to find out secretly more about it. And so that's what I proceeded to do.
Would you say it fed a need for emotional connection with a man?
That's exactly what I needed to find out. I needed to have that connection with a man that I lacked growing up. I know that's why I pursued it. It was affecting my relationship at home and my sexual activity with my wife. And for a whole year, I lived under that lie. But eventually, I just realized that I couldn't do it. And I stayed in the gay life, and I flourished in the gay life. I managed gay bars. I was on the Gay Business Council. I played in the Gay World Series, baseball in New York. I was up to here in gay life. I wasn't an activist. I didn't parade in the gay parades and things like that, but I was in it. I couldn't pretend to be an active Christian and living in the gay lifestyle. To me, they didn't go together. And I didn't want to be a hypocrite. And so I didn't pretend. I kind of put it to the side, and I dove headfirst into gay life. And I had good friends in that area too, as long as I had something to offer. As long as I had, it was kind of you had to bring something to the table. And it was conditional. One day, my son asked if he could come and visit me. He was just finishing university. And I said, yes, he could. I had seen him once when he was 10 years old, and I hadn't seen him for almost 10 years, and he wanted to come and visit me. I went to the airport to pick him up. I didn't know if I'd recognize him, and he didn't know if he'd recognize me. But we connected. And we got in the car, and I said to him, I said, do you know about me? And he said, yes, I do. He said, Mom told me a week ago. She kept it from him because she didn't want to embitter him. And he was happy to see me. We got back to the apartment, we sat in the balcony, and we looked and talked to each other. And I said, so what do you think? He said, Dad, I'd never heard that before. I'd never heard that before. It was so powerful. I was like a jellyfish. I was so soft, and I was so happy to hear him. And when I said, what do you think? He said, Dad, my love for you is unconditional. And I thought, wow. How is that possible? I didn't have a dad in my upbringing. He didn't have a dad in his upbringing. But he could tell me that he loved me unconditionally. Well, we bonded and we grew, and he stayed with me for a month at that time, and then he went back to university, and he said, there's one more thing I have to tell you. And I said, okay. He said, God's love for you is unconditional. I knew God. And I knew that his love for me was unconditional, especially at that moment in time, because everything disappeared. All I wanted to do was identify with meaningful, real, unconditional love. And I told my son that day, I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to move towards a renewed relationship with God. And I will do whatever it takes. And from that day to this day, God has given me victory.
It's as if that day Sean was speaking to you as your son, your father, and God.
Yep.
So what happened from that day?
I didn't know how I was going to do it, but that I was booked to go to Boston that weekend to a doubleheader with the Boston Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. And I went to Boston with my friend and went to the ball games and stayed in my hotel, and he went to the bars. And I came back home. And the next Sunday, I purposed to go to a little church near where I lived. I ended up searching for a support ministry. My father beat me so many times, I can't tell you. There was times I couldn't go to school. I was so abused and bruised. So I didn't have good identity with my father. I didn't have real good sibling identity. My three older sisters, it was hard. They were together. I was on the outside. So I had to ID with all those things, and it was important for me to do that, and so I worked through those issues in a support group where we talked about them, we brought them up, we compared with one another. There would maybe be 5 or 6 people there. It was so healthy. It was so powerful to be able to connect with these people, and they with you, and you could toss things back and forth. It was so powerful, and I did that for 6 months, 8 months, and I was so into it and appreciating and growing in it, and also on the other side growing in my relationship with God too. That was important. That's what we're all born for, is to have a relationship with God. Some of us don't realize it, but it's a fact. That's why he created us. Anyway, so here I am relating and having a relationship, in a healthy relationship with these people, and identifying the love issue, the father issue, the masculine identity, and so on. And those things were really powerful for me. And after that, they asked me if I wanted to go in a growth group. So then you start working with other issues, life issues. Just how do you relate to other things in life and so on. You know, when you're working at recovery, when you're working at these things that you struggle with, and whatever those issues are, you need to come to grips with them and relate and connect with them. But that's the recovery that is so, so important. You have to have that freedom to go into it if you need it and want it, but you have to have that ability and that freedom to come out of it if and when you choose to come out of it. There has to be a freedom. There has to be a freedom. If you're not free, you're in a box.
I have a few questions for you. What you're describing me doesn't appear to be conversion therapy. Like, did you receive electroshock?
No, not even the suggestion of it in my time. In that was 45 years ago.
Did you, was there a priest that tried to do an exorcism over you?
No,
No? Were you into a conversion camp? Did you go to a conversion camp?
No, I did not.
So it was just a group counseling or group. Did you feel that it was not respecting you, or it was forcing you to change, or
The exact opposite.
did you continue experiencing opposite sex attraction, or it became only same sex attraction?
Well, I have not remarried. And the reason I haven't remarried is not because I'm not attracted to women. I am very attracted to women. But my wife is still the apple of my eye. And I asked for her forgiveness way back. Over 30 years ago, I asked for her forgiveness. And she forgave me. I asked my son about 4 years ago to ask her if anything happened to her current husband, would she take me back? And she said no. And I fully understand that. That's okay. I've accepted that. If I see a car, I look at that car and I say, that's a really good looking car. If I see a man and I look at that person and I see a man and I can say, that's a good looking guy. I see a woman and I say, she's a very attractive, a good looking woman. I don't sexualize it. I admit that it's a fact. I was restored back to the Lord and into my new walk with that I'm in right now at the age of about 55. So I was still a pretty young guy, and so, but I have, like I said, had victory from that balcony day with my son to this day, and it's all because of wanting so much to establish healthy relationship with God and with men and with women, and just to be in that healthy state or that healthy mind.